up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, is there a break-in? What's going on? And she's calling, and I'm on the air in Los Angeles on KFI, and I'm with Tim Conway Jr., who's going to come through for the Christmas season here. And he was also very instrumental in something that we will get to here as well. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is it? We're literally on the air, And so I answer the phone, but I'd leave it down on the table so she can hear we're on the air. And then 3 minutes go by maybe. We go to break, and I go to take the phone to the home. She goes, "You've got to get back here. The lights are flashing on and off. The lights are flashing off. The switchers, they're arcing. They're sparks." I said, "Whoa, what's going on? What are you talking about?" All the circuit breakers were popping, pop, and the lights were going on and off like a haunted house. They were going on and off, and the reason I know that is because all the neighbors' homes were having this happen. But Courtney didn't know that. She just thought, this is happening here. And this is where you get to our personal experience. As you know, we lost our home to fire. So we're super paranoid about fire and electrical issues of any kind. Mm-hmm. So she said, I don't know what I should grab the animals and leave. And I don't know what to, she went right to evacuation. And I said, whoa, let me, and she said, get back here. So I run down to the car, and then as I'm running down to the car, I call my neighbor to see if it's happening at his house. Because if it's happening at his house, then we know it's a,
sure,
neighborhood-wide issue. And he said, yeah, same thing's happening here. I said, okay. So the urgency, I'm not saying that there still is an urgency. You still have a fire danger or whatever is the perceived threat. But so I go back. Then the power comes back on. She says, everything's cool. You don't need to come back. So now I go back up to the studio with Tim. And then the power goes off again. But this time, because we've established that it's a neighborhood-wide problem, it's not an urgent matter. I get home, and the power was off all night. So, again, to me, not a big deal. I've got lanterns. I've got stuff. But to her, it was, but I try to kind of just go, hey, it's no problem. I've got tons of lantern. Everybody relax. Don't sweat. We know that the power company is working on this. So essentially, it's off all night, the power. So all the work I do on the show, I can't do. And I will just mention, this is a little thing, but my phone, which I was going to power when I got home, is like on, what percentage battery is it on? I ask you.
5%. You're down to 5% battery.
I literally was down to 5% battery. I literally was. And it shut down, So it's like park it. So all the stuff I do for the show, like I do descriptions and all that stuff, I couldn't do. So now, you have to do it the next morning, blah, blah, blah. It's just like everything stacking up. So I'm really running behind today is the bottom line. But the power was restored this morning, so we are back at full power, everybody. Yeah.
Thank goodness. We got to get you a generator.
Yeah, I thought of that. Do you have a generator at your house?
Yeah.
And how big? Well, you've got a real dude who's your husband. He probably has like the super big generator. Does it power the refrigerator and stuff like that?
Yeah, it will power the things that we need. So it will probably power more, but we would use it just for the refrigerator. And maybe I argue the TV. He says that's not necessary. You know how it is.
Wow. In a power outage, do we have anything to power the TV?
That's right. That's where I'm going.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Who is having that conversation?
Exactly. Not many.
I don't know.
But I don't, you need, that's what Courtney is so dramatic about everything. Oh my God. She goes,
I love that.
Oh my God, it's so cold in here. I said, honey, it's not cold in here at all. I just walked in. I wasn't wearing even a jacket. It's just not, okay? We're not at a stage where you need to, pretend that you're some refugee, who just hasn't eaten in days and is free. And then she said, I could make you something. Maybe I could make some soup. Do you think the stove works? I said, of course the stove works. It's a gas stove. She said, I don't know how to light it because the pilot. I said, yeah, we'll just light it with a match. So be careful. The matches could ignite. Now, honey, stop. Stop. It's just a power outage. The power's coming back on. PG&E turns the power off all the time.
That's kind of their like hobby.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Right. So anyway, all's well that ends well, I guess.
Seriously?
But yeah, it was a little bit much. You need to get the woman who Pat has on every week. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Loretta Lynch?
Yeah, Loretta.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Loretta.
I'm sure someone in the chat would know her name. She was great. I know her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, but again, this was some kind of problem that they had. So, John, I want to acknowledge Tim, but I also want to get into some news, and I also want to get to Steve probably at 10:20. Tell me what to do next, please, if you would, John. Fabulous.
You want to show your Mark Murch photos?
Okay, we should do that now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So,
fabulous producer, John Daly.
This is a producer decision.
Uh-oh.
Well, what I was just trying to find some supplemental information about the people who sent this stuff in. We do have the pictures, but I wanted to.
So you do have the pictures.
I don't. I do have the pictures.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
I have the pictures, but I don't have the supplemental information. For example, from the Buffalo listener, I love that we got an email from Buffalo because I started really my professional full-time career in Buffalo. Oh, here it is from Cindy. So, okay, I do have that. Here's today's scene from our window in Buffalo. Cars look like marshmallows beyond the snowbank, and the person walking by gives you an idea of how high the snowbank is after street plowing. But for Buffalonians, it's not our first rodeo, and a snowman always brings a smile, and we're not one of the marshmallow cars. So, Cindy and Phil, Buffalo, New York, former San Jose residents. Come on,
Nice.
Shout out to San Jose. Very, very cool.
Thanks for listening in Buffalo.
Yeah, very, very cool. Thank you, Cindy. Meantime, on the other side of town, the Mark Merch site is slamming. You can get the KGO and Exile T-shirt. The proceeds go to the show, of course. GetMarkMerch.com. And we have these people who were super cool to send us pictures of themselves with the merch. I don't have any special music or anything for this. I wish I did have.
Ta-da!
No. Oh, that's good. That works. Thank you. Sporting, I want to say this is maybe among the more impressive merch picks. The KGO and Exile T-shirt, the Mark Thompson Show pot holder, and you can also see on the fridge, Frank Gallardo has the bottle opener. Do you see that upper right?
And a cat.
And that's what Courtney noticed. I showed her the picture, and she said, look, he's got a cat. So Frank Gallardo, congratulations, happy birthday. He said, my wife bought the T-shirt for my birthday. I'm a Patreon supporter. Thank you. Huge, big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. Frank Gallardo. Good stuff. And this, do we have his name, John?
Yeah, it's in the doc. If you follow
Is it
along.
Ricky? Is this Ricky?
Yeah, Ricky.
Okay. Ricky with the KJO and Exile T-shirt, looking strong, my friend. Love it. Love it. I'll give you a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And Janet, I love Janet. Looking good, by the way, Janet. Let me just say. In the KJO and Exile T-shirt, big shout out to
Big
Janet.
shout out.
Yeah. Come on, Janet. And finally, at Tenuta Vineyard, this is,
Rich and
do you
Nancy.
have it, John? What?
Rich and Nancy.
Yeah, but that's no. But the that's Rich. But on the right is our listener. I mentioned her the other day. Let me just try to find it.
Threw me a curveball with that one.
Yeah, I think it's Kim. This is Kim. Yeah. Went to Tenuta Vineyard yesterday. It was a stop on the wine bus tour. Remember, that was her. Kim Rossline. Kim Rossline at Tenuta Vineyard, where you can get the which one of you is Mark Thompson white wine, which is terrific.
Hey, which one of you is
It's
Mark
a Pinot
Thompson?
Grigio, so you should check that out. I give you a big Dan Ashley shout out. So thank you. That is the crew so far. I hope I haven't left anybody out. But a very, very big thank you for patronizing our Mark's merch site, getmarkmerch.com. And finally, I guess to round out the field, and then I will get to the Supreme Court decision. Yeah, it's pronounced like clothesline. Oh, it's Roseline? Is that what you're saying, Kim? I thought you meant the...
I thought it was Roslyn.
I don't know.
But she's saying it's pronounced like... See, she says in the chat, it's pronounced like clothesline.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Roseline. Okay.
So I screwed it up.
Well, I mean, that's kind of on brand.
I hate it when you guys turn on me like that.
Don't talk to me that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're truth tellers.
Well, apparently. Sometimes you have to know when not to tell the truth.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. All right. So, Kim, Roseline is what you're saying. Roseline. Thank you, Kim, for that. I want to acknowledge someone who really did something amazing last night. In the middle of all this wild stuff that was going on, and I've just given you sort of the tip of the iceberg. My brother in radio, my brother in gaming, he is a dear friend, Tim Conway Jr., whose show in Los Angeles is very popular, and I'm a regular on that show. Tim Conway Jr. heard that we were trying to push subscribers. Remember yesterday I was saying, at your Thanksgiving meal, before anybody eats, have everybody take their phone out. Have them go to YouTube. Have them go to The Mark Thompson Show and have them hit subscribe. They never have to watch 1 second of the show. We're just trying to boost subscriberships. So I made that same point to Tim. I said, I just would love it if your listeners would go to YouTube, have them take out their phones, and hit subscribe. They never have to watch 1 minute. So he made it a big deal. He said, here's what I want everybody to do right now. I want them to take out their phones, go to YouTube, go to, in the search, The Mark Thompson Show, and hit subscribe. And let's get Mark to 6,000 subscribers tonight. We were at how many, John? We were at 5, 6 yesterday?
We were at like 5,500 earlier in the day and then 5,600 towards the beginning of the show.
Right. So all of a sudden, what happened, John?
It skyrocketed. So like I was looking at my phone and like all of a sudden it's like 144 new subscribers, 200, 340, 400. And I think by the end of it, we were up to 600. So it was insane.
He got us to 6,000. And I want to thank him.
Ding dong.
Yeah. I want to thank him in the rich tradition of this show, Tim. We have something special for you.
You get nothing.
Sadly, nothing. But I will get Tim a piece of merch.
Well, you should see the comments in the YouTube comments. It says, Tim Conway told me to come here. Conway told me to subscribe. I'm doing this because Tim told me to.
Yes. It's nice to both be repudiated by an audience and also embraced by an audience at the same time. I appreciate everybody who came here reluctantly,
at gunpoint,
dragged here by a popular radio personality. But really cool of Tim to step up for us. So really appreciate that. The Biden administration is extending the payment pause on student loans until after June, or when the legal challenges to that program resolve themselves. Jay Leno is back behind the wheel after being released from the burn unit. What is there, 10 days, right?
10 days. And yeah, he says he's doing okay.
We have a pic of that, John? I thought there's a pic.
Where were those photos?
I'm asking you.
No, I was...
What happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this morning?
Multitasking this morning, didn't get around to it.
Didn't get around to it. Well, that's we really don't hear that much in broadcasting. I didn't get around to it. Okay, well, imagine Jay Leno, okay, and he's behind the wheel of a car. I think we can all picture
the chin.
I will get it for you in the next half hour. So I promise you we'll have the Jay Leno pic. But Jay is out of the hospital, and He literally kind of posed for a pic, so he's doing much, much better. There are fresh accusations in the Herschel Walker saga. The accuser, who Walker says he didn't know, actually is coming forward through Gloria Allred. And in audio, you actually hear Herschel Walker. And the audio is a little muddy. That's the reason I'm not playing it for you. Maybe we'll play it for you on Friday when we have, the guys in and we talk politics. And then we can all sort of translate. But essentially, he's talking about himself as this sex beast and stuff on her in her voicemail. So he clearly knows her. But
werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that?
Yeah. So I'm wondering how an embattled Herschel Walker does in this election. I think in a weird way, it's kind of like I grabbed her by the pee situation. People who are going to vote for Trump, vote for him. People are going to vote for Walker, vote for him, regardless of what revelations come out. I mean, we already have made it clear, and I'm not going to detail for you again all of these allegations against him that are clearly true. I mean, everything from, failed businesses to, he was everything but a Lyft driver for women who wanted abortions. I mean, he was driving women to back and forth to abortion clinics and writing checks like, somebody who, really was on the opposite side of the position that he articulates. But I don't think all of that matters. I think the GOP tribalism in that race is what's going to carry the day. The Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump tax records to be sent to Congress by the IRS. But here is the there are 2 points on this. One of the points is that is Trump's Supreme Court, the one that's really covered his A in some ways, and the one that rolled back Roe. The rolling back of Roe is something that they wanted. It's a Federalist Society doctrine that they have gone after, that abortion is murder. It is in the boilerplate of what those Federalist Society judges all maintain, right? So those Supreme Court justices, they have that agenda. They don't have the cover your ass agenda for Donald Trump. They don't. Now, the exception, the one carve-out is Clarence Thomas, because his wife is in league with those who are the coosters, the insurrectionists. But apart from that, that court probably doesn't care a whole lot about Donald Trump anymore. They got him to where they are. He got them to where they are. And now they're doing the work of the Federalist Society, which I say, and it really is about big business primarily, and also this sort of Christian right vision of America. So I think you're going to see them weigh in on elections. You're going to see them weigh in on education. You're going to see them weigh in on a lot of corporate malfeasance and the ability of government to regulate or oversee these things. So you're going to see a lot of that in the next year from the Supreme Court. But covering Trump on an IRS thing, that's not really their jam. So it's very much consistent with the texture of this court that they would essentially say, we're not going to hear this case. So they've cleared the way for Trump's tax records to be sent to Congress by the IRS. But, and now this is the second point, there is really a pretty short timeline. The new Congress comes in January. So unless the IRS Treasury Department really releases those taxes right away, I don't know that we'll ever see them. I understand this is a big decision on the part of the Supreme Court, a decision not to decide, in effect, to say we're not going to hear this case. But Kevin McCarthy and the GOP show up to the House, and they will dissolve the January 6th committee, and they'll dissolve investigations related to Trump taxes, and they'll do that right away. So,
well, there have been leaks before. Yeah,
if they can get it, at all, then it's possible there will be leaks.
You just have to email a PDF.
There's the picture of Jay. Thank you. Yeah, right on time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hey, look at that.
I love that JPEG.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
Smash that like button like a boss, everybody. Come on now. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you for being here. Much to do. We'll talk California politics with Jeremy B. White from Politico next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. President Biden is mourning those killed in a mass shooting at a Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. The president said more tables across the country will have empty seats this Thanksgiving due to another horrific, senseless act of violence. He called for more action to tighten gun laws. A Walmart employee shot and killed 6 people before taking his own life on Tuesday. America is facing a shortage of children's antibiotics due to what health experts are calling a triple-demic, with the CDC saying respiratory activity is high or very high in more than half the states. Pharmacists say there's just not enough amoxicillin or Augmentin to treat bacterial infections of the ear, throat, and sinuses. There's also a shortage of children's Tamiflu and of albuterol inhalers to open constricted airways. Days may be numbered for the head of Homeland Security, the GOP, poised to take control of the House, and hardliners like Texas's Chip Roy, they're on a mission to impeach Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said Mayorkas does not intend to resign, so we'll see how this plays out. The European Parliament designating Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism due to attacks on civilian targets in Ukraine. European lawmakers voting to adopt the resolution as Russia has ramped missile attacks on critical infrastructure. The move is largely symbolic, as the European Union can't officially designate states as sponsors of terrorism. I don't know if you've been following this case out of Southern California. It's truly disturbing. There's a judge granting a request for a restraining order to Kobe Bryant's daughter, Natalia. The order is against a man described as a delusional, gun-obsessed stalker with a criminal history. The 19-year-old daughter of the late basketball legend says she is terrified that Dwayne Kemp will do anything he can to find her. Kemp tried to contact Natalia when she was 17. According to court documents, he was under the delusion that the two were in a romantic relationship. Kemp has been arrested or convicted multiple times of crimes involving firearms, and court documents indicate he is currently in the process of purchasing at least one gun. And tomorrow, of course, Thanksgiving, and officials in New York City getting ready for the 96th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade tomorrow. The parade features the famous giant character balloons with some new ones this year, including Sinclair's Dino and Bluey, and the new floats include Baby Shark, which is accompanied by a balloon. How many of you think...
Is it going to be windy? It's when it's windy, it's a real fun thing to watch because you don't,
Baby Shark, people are going to bust out into Baby Shark.
There's that too, yeah.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes, you got to call Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal, or online you can find him at moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What up, everybody? Oh, this is great. Lori B., thank you. Donation for Mark's generator. Yeah, I have to say, I lost the power last night, all night. And I was thinking to myself, wow, if we don't get the power back on by showtime, I don't even know how to record anything that would let you know that that's the case. So,
well, Kim and I could do a live show about PG&E.
That is true. That is true. No. I was going for a thank you very much. If I've got a
thank you.
That's good. Thank you, Lori, for that 10. Wait, Kevin Hobbs, $55. You know, at 45, I'm pressed to the very limits. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Wait a minute. I'm not gonna cry. $55, dude, you are the coolest. I'm not gonna cry, but I I do want to cry. I do want to. Can I give him a big shout out? Big Dan Ashley
shout out.
Yeah, all right. Wow. Scaria says, Tim Conway told me, or being here because Tim Conway told me. Now I get it. Tim Conway told me, or being here because Tim Conway told me, vaguely is like the January 6th group saying Trump told them to come. That's very good, Squire. It's very good. Yeah. Kevin Hobbs, $55. I still can't get over, man. I'm not going to cry, though. I'm just not going to. I gave you the big shout out, and I'm not going to cry. But I'm close. I'm close to tears. I really am. You guys are great. Thank you very much. Little Thanksgiving rally. By the way, we'll be on the air with fresh shows. We will do the show tomorrow, Thanksgiving. In fact, Jefferson Graham's going to be here. He's going to talk about the tech turkeys of the year. That was his longtime USA Today feature. And he's going to do it here on this show. And we'll do that tomorrow. Also, a couple of other special guests. We'll do some politics as well. And on Friday, for Black Friday, we'll be on the air with a full show. So we're here with, and it's really our way of saying thank you to you who've supported the show in the first month. And so appreciate it. Once again, Jeremy B. White's waiting. Okay, good. I was just really filling a little bit until Jeremy got here. This guy is someone who puts it all together on Politico. It's called the California Playbook. Google it, get it, and make it happen in your life. It's a great clearinghouse for everything going on in California. Jeremy B. White. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so much. First of all, happy Thanksgiving. And I do want to get to something that you talk about in the Playbook. It's funny, I mentioned it here on the show, and that is the changing face of a GOP leadership. And we have a Californian who's taking over, in Kevin McCarthy, and you kind of do a breakdown of what that might look like, his agenda as he takes power. Oh,
that's right. It certainly looks like. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound great. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, all right. As I was saying, it certainly looks like Kevin McCarthy, Republican from Bakersfield, is likely to be the next Speaker of the House, but it's not certain. He is facing pushback from some of the more conservative members of his caucus. And even if he does get it, given some of that dissension within the caucus, and given that Republicans are going to have a very narrow majority, it looks like it'll be probably about 9 seats, depending on a few races that remain to be called, he's not going to have that much room to maneuver. Now, keeping in mind that we will have a Democratic president, Democrats will, at the worst, have a tie in the U.S. Senate. That also limits what House Republicans can do. It's clear we are going to see a lot of investigations. Kevin McCarthy demanding that the Secretary of Homeland Security, who leads immigration matters, resign, saying if he doesn't, we'll start impeachment proceedings, essentially. And so there's no doubt that we are going to see efforts by Republicans to sort of create accountability and investigate various officials in the Biden administration and whatnot. I'm certain Hunter Biden is going to be a target. In terms of actual policy, I don't know there's much that they are going to be able to get done at a divided Congress.
Well, the investigations will maybe animate some of their base, clearly. I mean, I think the base would be disappointed if they didn't do kind of what you're talking about, which is the Hunter Biden stuff and these investigations and the attempted impeachment of Homeland Security chief. But I'm wondering, those investigations will steal the spotlight. As you say, there's really not much they can actually do legislatively. But will they bring to vote, I guess what might be my ask on you to handicap, will they bring to vote any kind of real policy, even if they just pass it in the House? Or do they seem to not be so policy driven in your judgment?
That's a great question. I with the caveat that I don't cover Congress as closely as, say, the California legislature, I would expect that they would pass some bills. But it's very common when you have divided Congress for parties to pass what are essentially sort of messaging bills, a bill that signals this is what we would like to do, knowing that it's not going to go anywhere, but it sort of tells the base this is our goal. And it also, serves the purpose of, you can then say Republicans passed the bill to cut your taxes, whatever you want to say, but Democrats in the Senate refuse to pass it. And so, you see that stuff all the time from both sides. I suspect we would see some more of that.
Exactly. You had something. I'm looking for this quote. You had a quote from Leo Terrell, who I used to know. Leo Terrell. I literally, he was a pal of mine. Like, we'd go to dinner, Leo Terrell. He has completely stepped off the curb. This guy is absolutely out in deep space. I don't know what's going on. Unless it's a money play, I don't understand why he's become this ultra MAGA right-wing Fox News jihadist. It's insane. But anyway, you had a quote from him, and I thought it was relative to what you do. Quite interesting because it mentioned Gavin Newsom. You know the quote I'm talking about?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The Fox News panel was talking about CBS story verifying some of the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. And I was interested. Their quote was something to the effect of, all right, Gavin Newsom's licking his chops. It's not exactly, but it's paraphrase. What interested me about that is not that Fox News is making a big deal out of the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. That's been the case for a while. But the extent to which you see the conservative media, among others, invoking Gavin Newsom as this sort of, well, Joe Biden's compromised and decrepit and on his way out. And then there's usually the turn to mentioning Gavin Newsom. And I think that just demonstrates that, leaving aside what the various things that would have to happen for Gavin Newsom to actually run for president, I think it really underscores the perception of the media that Gavin Newsom is very much the guy or one of the most likely people to step into that role. And I think...
Do you read into that, Jeremy? Sorry to interrupt, but do you read into that then that they see Biden as a threat, and that's why they sort of are in league to knock down Biden? I mean, obviously, they're knocking down Biden is kind of just the mother's milk of what they've been doing. But I mean, they bring Newsom in. Do they feel as though he's more beatable, maybe would be a way to put it, than a Joe Biden for the general? I mean, is that your sense of things in the buzz?
Honestly, that is probably one that is a little beyond my ability to speculate. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some folks who think that way. Separating sort of the standard minority party criticizing the president from sort of the multi-dimensional minority party actually fears the president and wants to get rid of him to get to a weaker contender, that is hard for me to say. And I think Democrats, for that matter, are divided on who would be best in 2024, whether they're going up against Donald Trump or someone else, whether Joe Biden, he after all did win, would be better, or whether it's time for some fresh blood. I don't think I don't think either party has a certain answer on that. And I would also argue that I think there are a lot of folks who look at this election and say, despite the predictions of a wipeout, Democrats actually did pretty well for a midterm after their party takes control. Historically, that's always a bloodbath for that party, but they actually did okay. How much of that is Joe Biden? How much of that is some of these sort of fringier Trump-aligned candidates? There's a lot of different pieces going on here, but I think there is not a clear consensus on Joe Biden is the guy. Joe Biden's got to go.
We're talking to Jeremy B. White from California's from Politico's California Playbook. You can Google it. We have it on screen right now, Politico.com, and then you just go California Playbook or just Google California Playbook. Our last couple of minutes, I wonder if you could just in our last couple of minutes, talk about the two major cities in California. And I don't mean to leave Sacramento out at all, but since it's the seat of government in the state. But in San Francisco and in Los Angeles, it seems to me there are consistent features in both cities, and that is one consistent feature is simply that people are fed up with what's going on at City Hall, and the latest in Los Angeles, it's bizarre. It's like a reality show, really. With I think one of their soups hanging on. There's a new mayor who edged out the Republican/Democrat Caruso. He was Republican and Democrat then ultimately. But I wonder if you can just review in your sense of both cities from a political standpoint.
Sure. I mean, I don't think it's news that there has been a fair amount of discontent in both cities. A lot of that having to do with homelessness, sort of quality of life issues. And so At the same time, Los Angeles, as you noted, elected Congresswoman Karen Bass to be mayor, rather than going with the Republican turned Democrat Rick Caruso, who positioned himself as more of the outsider who would shake up the status quo. So, people in LA definitely, at least in the mayoral race, they went with somebody who was very much identified with the political establishment. Now, there have been a couple other races there, for example, for city council, where they went with more sort of outsidery progressive candidates signaling, let's try something new. But I think you can find evidence that they were also willing to stick with the status quo. Similarly, in San Francisco, the district attorney, Brooke Jenkins, who was appointed to replace the recalled district attorney, Chesa Boudin, he handily won re-election. You saw some more sort of centrist supervisors elected. So it is a mixed bag all around. One race, though, that I think is not getting that much attention, but I am very interested to see what happens, is Alameda County, one of the biggest counties in California. It's where Oakland is, has elected Pamela Price, a very progressive, outsidery attorney, to be their district attorney. And that is one that I think has maybe flown a little under the radar because it's not San Francisco or LA. But if you want to talk about a prosecutor who is very much on the sort of moving away from incarceration, thinking of an alternate way to administer justice, Pamela Price is very much that person. And so I'm pretty interested to see what happens.
It's interesting that she prevails. I love that you've mentioned her because she prevails in an environment that seems to be cracking back against progressivism in the DA office, in the prosecutor's office, right?
Well, I think there's a mixed bag on that as well. Like, yes, Chesa Boudin in San Francisco got recalled, but in that same election, the progressive in Contra Costa County, a sort of suburban Bay Area county, Diane Becton won re-election. So, the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, a progressive, won re-election. That one probably a little more about the overwhelming Democratic voter registration. So you can find signals, you can find different signals here. I think there are some examples you can point to where voters feel like things went too far, but I think there are also some examples you can point to where voters said, no, we want to try something different, or stick with somebody who is in the early phases of trying something different. So I'm not sure you can say it's uniformly one or the other.
That's you're so right to point to those things. Interesting though, it's just so. I think your beat is fascinating, and you bring so much to it. I so appreciate the time you spend with us on Wednesdays. I know it's probably corny and hack to say it, but as you look back around Thanksgiving, we thank you. I really am so grateful for the time you spent with us. I know we started on KGO, and you've graciously come over to this platform with us, and I really am thankful for that. So thank you so much, Jeremy B. White.
That's very sweet of you. I'm happy to do it.
Jeremy B. White, everybody, from Politico. It's the California Playbook. Google it. Get it. It will hit your inbox automatically, and it will keep you up on everything going on in California. It's a clearinghouse for so much. In Silicon Valley, weed laws, everything. It's a terrific resource. So definitely get on it. That's the California Playbook and Jeremy B. White.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
In Iran, there are so many protests and so many brutal responses to those protests. I don't know if you've been watching, but the stuff that's getting out of Iran is troubling. Anti-government protests sweeping across Iran in the last month. The top leaders making a secret appeal to two of the Islamic Republic's founding families. These are the Khomeini clan and the Rafsanjani clan.
Not to be confused with the actual Khomeini. It's a different Khomeini.
The hardliners pushed them out of power. And now the government's in talks with them and trying to, I guess, integrate this more moderate, these more moderate clans into Iranian state policy. The families, I guess, turned them down, right? They're not. They said, hey, we don't want any part of this. We don't want the stink of this government on us. That's the implication, anyway. So,
they're trying to co-opt their popularity in society.
And, this is, if everything else was hunky-dory in Iran, then these protests might be more handleable. They might be more controllable. But what's happened is Iran's economy's in trouble. Iran's laws are inconsistent with what the people want, clearly, based on the protests. So, the women covering their heads in public, that is increasingly something that a generation of women don't want anymore. And they certainly don't. They want the option to no longer do it.
An important thing to note is the Revolutionary Guard, which is, in parallel to their army, was created because they anticipated this back when they had the revolution. They didn't want it to happen again. So basically, this Revolutionary Guard is dedicated to protecting the regime. And a lot of the people that are recruited to become soldiers, for lack of a better term, are not Persians. They're from other countries. They're basically mercenaries. Right.
Wow.
So this was an insurance policy put into place by the Khomeini.
Last thing I'll just say is that, they traditionally have had reformists and moderates in the government of Iran to soften the image of these hardliners, but the hardliners have been in charge. That just may not be possible anymore. Iran is facing, and you can tell John really knows this beat.
Well, and the feedback I'm getting from my family, we can't really talk about it directly on the phone, but is that it's building, the pressure is building, and this one is not going away.
We will watch it for you.
There's never been anything like this.
Okay, well, I think that there actually has been something like it. It was the hardline taking over of Iran, you'll recall, in the late 70s when they threw the Shah out. Musk is telling Twitter and the staff of Twitter, no more layoffs. I was really, the last thing, it was like a fever dream.
Well, that's a relief.
Twitter's new owner, Elon Musk, told staff in an all-hands meeting that the company does not plan any more layoffs and is recruiting for engineering and ad sales now.
Oh, man.
I'm laughing because you fired everybody who was in engineering and ad sales.
All those people on H-1B visas are like, yeah, we weren't going anywhere.
But yeah, exactly. Right. Oh my God. It's just
we've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah. So that's the latest in Twitter land. I am we just expect you to work 80-hour weeks, says Eric Kennedy. That's exactly right. I mean, there's a mad king quality to Elon Musk that I think is only trouble. It's just very hard to run. Look, who am I to necessarily criticize him? But let's face it. I mean, the brand has been damaged, and his personal brand has been damaged, and the other brands he is associated with have been damaged. Tesla, SpaceX, now Twitter. I mean, how many of these things can be bloodied by Elon Musk's reckless approach to changing policy? I mean, even if you saw a better way to handle Twitter, a subscription-based, let's say, which I think is what they're going to go to, and you see other revenue streams, why not phase them in slowly? Instead, he comes in like your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving, with his genitals out. You know what I mean? I mean, really. I mean, and people are recoiling from. It is, and it is. The whole thing is gross. The whole thing is gross. Anyway, that's what's happening at Twitter, and I think I guess all I'm trying to say is he could affect a lot of change at Twitter without ruffling so many feathers and also without damaging his brand. So, what are we doing now, John? I really I'm losing track again. Please, do you have a do we have?
Well, there is a doc with the plan.
You mean a doctor?
No, a document.
Oh, I see. Okay. I see the document. Okay. All right. I guess what I was asking is when do we do the shout outs for people who've been very, we do that after 11
o'clock? We do that
o'clock?
after the news.
Okay. And after the news also, we'll give you a little more Herschel Walker news, and I've got law and disorder in the next hour. We've been following that Senate race in Georgia. Herschel Walker is just such a train wreck that there's a certain train wreck equality to it, frankly, to following it. So and we continue to follow it for you. Did you see that the Avatar sequel is going to need $2 billion to break even?
I mean, spent a lot of money on that one.
I mean, apparently, yeah. Well, I don't even know how you make $2 billion with a movie. Avatar: The Way of Water will have to make $2 billion at the global box office just to break even.
What?
Yeah. That's according to Jim Cameron himself. I call him Jim. He told GQ for a story published this week that the movie is, quote, very effing expensive and possibly represented the worst business case in movie history. You have to be the third or fourth highest grossing film in history. That's your threshold. That's your break even.
What?
That's okay. The sequel's release also comes at a momentous time for Disney, with Bob Iger retaking the throne of Disney, as you know. The movie will be the first major release for Disney since he returned as CEO. And it's worth noting, while the film was ordered before Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, for some of the movie's development, Iger was chief executive at Disney, which is to say Avatar's performance will reflect on Bob Iger. $2 billion. How long ago was Avatar? Do you remember how long ago it was? What would you say, Kim? Doesn't feel like super long ago, does it?
I'm going to say 15 years.
No, that's pretty good. I'll award points. 13
Okay,
years.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. You can turn your
Points
level. You may
received.
want to turn your level down a little bit. You're a little hot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
You're hot and you're hot, if you know what I mean.
Good morning.
But the 3D Avatar was giant 13 years ago. It remains to be seen whether this thing does the same business. Yeah, they need $2 billion. You've heard the famous story of James Cameron? There's a story about James Cameron on Titanic and the extras. So here's how the story goes. I'll tell it to you quickly. Titanic, massively expensive movie. Also, Jim Cameron, insanely talented, right? I mean, and apparently a taskmaster, but I have to say, I'm super impressed by James Cameron. So this is not about his art, because the product is, I think, awesome. I mean, go back to the Terminator movies, okay? But then, Titanic and Avatar, you're talking about a director who is operating with a degree of virtuosity that is unmatched, okay? Or certainly,
virtuosity should be dinged.
Virtuosity is a ding word, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not matched by many. On Titanic, you'll remember, spoiler alert, the boat goes down at the end, and there are a bunch of people in the water, right? And they're hanging on to the debris or little pieces of the boat. So those are extras. Those are real people, okay? So they're shooting the Leo DiCaprio stuff and the dialogue there, and they have to break for lunch. And the AD, the assistant director, says to, I like to use the word AD because it makes me sound like I'm something of an insider.
Do you know who I am?
So the AD says to him, well, if we send boats around to get all the extras, it's going to take 45 minutes to ferry them all out. Then they get lunch and then back, and we're going to be in, overtime for the crew, blah, 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 blah. So that's my situation. I just want to let you know it's going to take extra time. And Cameron supposedly said, just feed them in the water. Bring the sandwiches out to the extras while they're in the water. It's too much trouble to get them out. We're losing the light, whatever the story was. They were shooting in Mexico, I think, they're shooting a real body of water. And at least this particular sequence. And so they literally brought sandwiches out to the extras, and they served them there while they were, on these, floating pieces of debris. I don't know what it was, some kind of, but it just speaks to extras typically don't do well anyway. They're sort of treated as, they're treated as extras. And that.
I wonder how many hours they had to spend in the water.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just being in the water is right. I'm sure there's something online about how much time was actually spent. And now I'm sure there are extras telling the stories. But being an extra on a movie where you're going to be in the water, kind of what you're talking about, Kim, I think that's already something you have to be up for. This isn't like you're just background at a coffee shop. This is your background in the water for 15 hours. It's crazy. So Anyway, that's the Jim Cameron story. When we come back, some special shout-outs, many shout-outs. Thanks for all the support. Again, we'll be here through Thanksgiving. New show tomorrow, new show Friday. We're here for you because you're here for us. Smash the like button like a boss and grab me a subscriber or two at the Thanksgiving table. Get them to subscribe. Doesn't really matter if they watch. I just need subscriptions. If I can get the subscriptions to 10,000, a world is open to us that will let us spend some money to Kim, John, Tony, and me eventually, which would be nice too. So thanks for being here again. Special shout outs next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. I turned myself down, so hopefully I'm not too loud. This report.
You sound great, I think.
Okay, good. Awesome. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. That shooter who opened fire at a Walmart in Virginia last night was found dead in the break room. That's according to the city of Chesapeake, which shared an update on its Twitter account. 2 other victims were found in the same location. 1 found dead near the front of the store. 3 others died at the hospital last night. The United States is sending another $400 million aid package to Ukraine. President Biden authorized the move, bringing the total of U.S. military assistance to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia's invasion to almost $20 billion. A statement from the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, says it'll include additional arms, munitions, not musicians, and air defense equipment. They don't need musicians. The Thanksgiving travel rush starting in California, as always. It's today that's expected to be the busiest of the holiday weekend. 900,000 people in California are catching a flight today. Airports in Los Angeles and San Francisco are among those already seeing the crowds, but the roads will be the worst. 6 million people driving out of town this year. Best chance to avoid sitting in a massive traffic is to leave before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m. And the nation's first clinical trial of long COVID is getting underway in California. Researchers at Stanford University say they need 200 volunteers to test out whether Paxlovid can help alleviate symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, shortness of breath, and body aches. The antiviral drug works by stopping the virus from replicating. It has been shown, according to the doctors, to decrease the chance of hospitalization and death by 88%. The volunteers will be monitored for a period of 4 months. And California,
that's Paxlovid? Which drug is that?
That's Paxlovid. And they want to study whether it has an impact on long COVID.
And let me just ask you though, what about the rebound effect? Did they mention I'm always worried about that with my friends around Paxlovid.
No, they didn't mention the rebound effect. They said that it helps alleviate symptoms and works by stopping the virus from replicating, and that it decreases the chance of hospitalization and death by 88%.
Right.
But they didn't talk about that whole flare-up where you think you're done with COVID and then boom, it comes back.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious.
I don't know,
but
they're looking for 200 people to see whether it also has an effect on long COVID. I don't know about you. I would think that even if it made COVID longer, as far as the sickness and symptoms, if it could alleviate long COVID, that might be worth it.
Oh my God, yes, you're right. I mean, that's really my concern is long COVID.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll see how we'll keep our eye on that research and see how they do.
You have your the Mark Thompson Show network is connected to that research. Is that what you're telling me?
The Mark Thompson Show network is on top of all things.
All right. Thank you very much.
So here's some, you can guess on this story. Here's a little one for you, Mark. California again leads the nation when it comes to buying a home. It's probably no surprise that the state has the most expensive zip codes. Real estate site Property Shark lists 100 cities. And what's number one?
The most expensive
zip code in this country.
I would say Manhattan, but I think it's going to be someplace in Southern California, maybe like Holmby Hills or Atherton, maybe. What
ding ding. Atherton is right. Atherton in San Mateo County
Bay
is number
Area,
one.
That's right. Yeah.
Ross in Marin County is third.
Wow. I would not have guessed Ross. Ross sneaks in. Ross is in Marin, okay? Everybody go over the Golden Gate Bridge. That's Marin, okay? So you don't think of Ross like Atherton, but...
well, you know who used to live in Ross?
Who?
Pat Thurston.
Whoa, my God.
Name drop.
No wonder she doesn't want to start a YouTube thing. She doesn't need it.
No, she's like, no, it's fine.
You go to Green Bay, you turn left at the money.
Beverly Hills is 5th, speaking of money.
Turn left on Wealthy Street. Right. Yeah. Santa Monica. What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Beverly Hills in 5th. Santa Monica, Santa Barbara, Newport Beach, and San Diego counties, Rancho Santa Fe, all making it into the top 10 of the richest zip codes in America.
Wow.
Yeah. And you were talking about the uncle with his parts hanging out. And apparently the president is thinking you're right, because the White House is preparing Americans for political debates at the dinner table this Thanksgiving. Chief of Staff Ron Klain tweeting a list of what President Biden has done in office for when that uncle comes at you, including the infrastructure law, the new gun safety legislation. Meanwhile, a Quinnipiac poll finds nearly 2/3 of people are hoping to avoid the topic of politics at the Thanksgiving table altogether. So,
we in the last election, we put all the MAGA people on one side. We put all the others, Indy and Dems, on the other side. And then we just started a food fight, like in.
Oh yeah.
Actually, it was pretty mellow. And once in a while, you get people who are charged up. Usually after a couple of cocktails.
Right. Well, that happens.
But yeah, exactly. So.
Couple of glasses of Why You Yelling Red, and it's all over.
Yeah, before you know.
This report, sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses alike. If you need help with your taxes...
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
Yeah,
no,
go ahead.
No, Steve. Steve is at 888-TAX-DEAL.
No, the yelling,
or
I think, is what
online
they were talking about, not Steve.
LLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister, barely making it through this Mark Thompson Show Net Newscast on the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Use Mark Thompson. It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
What up, everybody? Oh, wow. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Kim?
I'm already
I
crying.
really might. I really might. I don't want to, but I really might.
Testify.
I'm not gonna, but I know I shouldn't.
Testify.
I'm not gonna cry.
Oh, Janet.
Janet,
that's
you
really sweet.
are deserving of a big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. You're also deserving of a Will Smith thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. And a thank you.
Thank you.
Janet R., $100. She wears her KGO in Exile t-shirt proudly. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Thank you, Janet. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, Janet. Really do love you. It does sadly take money to keep things going.
Yep.
And I appreciate very much the fact that you are helping us in that effort. We appreciate you all watching. We appreciate you all sharing. We appreciate you all liking, smashing it like a ball. Thank you, Mark, Kim, John, and Tony. I'm so thankful for you all. I'm excited to listen on Thanksgiving. Ren0287. And look at that. That's $50.
Thank you, Ren.
Ren.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. We'll see you tomorrow,
I'm not gonna, but I'm saying I can't.
I'm not gonna cry.
I'm going to have a choked up holiday season. Thank you, Ren.
I'm not gonna cry.
And a big Dan Ashley shout out to you, too.
Big shout out.
Yeah. And I'm also going to give you the thank yous.
Thank you so much.
The British thank you, which I think is, it's a cut above. Don't you agree?
Yvonne writes, there's no crying in exile. I'm sorry.
There's no crying in exile, friends. Stiff upper lip. Gary D, 1999. How come the photos of your followers with your merch are old?
Oh.
Happy Thanksgiving from more old folks, Gary and Sandy D.
Thank you very much.
I don't think they're that old, Gary.
Well,
Maybe
we had a
that's
new
because
photo and we added in the previous photos because we wanted to share the love.
I don't think they're that old. We just maybe shared a couple of them before. And I did ask, that's me. I said, oh, can you hear me right now or not?
Yeah, yes. I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
That's weird. Something happened to my, oh, there you go. I see. I inadvertently hit, I've got this new system and I can inadvertently, I guess I have busy hands and I inadvertently hit a button. Gary, so is Gary saying that the people are old people or are they saying that the pictures are older? Anyway, I think I was actually,
maybe that's what he means.
How come the photos are, and then he says more old folks, Gary and Sandy D. So he's saying he himself is older. Yeah. Well, they're older. I don't think they're that old, but then again, that might be because I'm old. You know, you might consider me.
It's all perspective.
It really is. And I, as you know, I love my older boys and girls, and I like my younger boys and girls. I like my boys and girls who are God-fearing church-going, and I like my boys and girls who are atheists. I like them all. This is a welcoming place. So,
do you like the Satanists? Do you like them?
Well,
there's the two group, right? There's the one that
it's not real. They're not really Satan. It's just a thing that they say. Exactly.
No.
They do this thing where they say
it's to get attention.
Exactly. I see the other button I hit.
No.
Yes. Okay, all right. Elwin, but so they're not really Satanists. It's a thing that they do to get attention. John is right. Elwin, you know I love you. Happy Thanksgiving, Kim and Mark.
Thank you,
Elwin. Hang on to that name. It is the coolest name in all of the world, Elwin. It's certainly among them.
If Uncle Elwin's coming at you for Thanksgiving, you better rest assured he's got his politics and his pants up on, zip up.
You know that I wonder if he'd like I'd call him L, not Elwin, you know. But maybe he likes Elwin and not L. Like, don't shorten it. And Elwin is a cool name. I can understand why you do that. But I think I might go. I might call him L, and then he'd tell me, Mark, don't call me L anymore. My name is Elwin. Hey, look, I have to tell you that was really generous. I mean, and you know, $100 donation is really cool. It really does matter. Sadly, you know, we've got to pay for crap, and as I say, it's the expenses on the show run right now. I'm hoping that many of these costs won't continue, like the sunk costs they call them, right? The things that are the things to get you going. That's a one-time expenditure, and then you don't have it anymore. So I'm hoping that just to let you in on the revenue side of things, as we begin to get some revenue momentum, I'm hoping that we can not have to worry about expenses being so high. And then that's a way that we can all have decent salaries and actually get stuff on this show that we want, the nice things. So thank you. Everybody can join us in the chat. The text is simple. You just jump right on into the live chat. You can see the live chat and replay. Usually they hold it back for, an hour or so, John? And then they typically release it.
Well, they have to first determine whether or not you're worthy of having live chat that day.
They're so brutal. I mean, the AI, as you know.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Exactly. I can't give you the live chat because
there's basically a committee of AI.
Right. And when we protest things, as we did was it the third show that they literally took down?
Yeah.
Because they claimed disinformation, but there wasn't any disinformation. They never we protested it. But as John says, it goes to a committee of more computers. You're not actually ever dealing with anyone. So you can't even have them focus on anything specifically because they're just...
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
You should probably stop this conversation before the broadcast gets shut down.
Yeah. Anyway, you're right. What is the... I love some of the good-natured trolling that goes on in our... Anyway, that's the deal. We're paying for crap. Not... we're what is it? We're paying for... we're paying for crap. This is a great show. Thank you. Yeah. We have great moments. I'll say that. So thank you. Speaking of great let me bring somebody on who is super important to this show. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He's Steve Moskowitz, everybody. How about it? How about it for Steve Moskowitz? Yeah. Woo. Steve, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mark. And
do you have all the
all your viewers?
Do you have the whole family in for Thanksgiving, waving their W-9s or their W-4s or their W-2s, or how does that work at the Moskowitz?
Normally, whenever I show up someplace, much like a physician, somebody has a simple question. And that's my life, and I'm happy for it. You know, I love talking about taxes and saving people money. Like with this ERC, it gets me so excited because the federal government is giving away, they're giving it away, Mark, up to $26,000 for every employee that you have that qualifies. So you say, well, okay, what do I have to do to qualify? There's two ways. There's the easy way that all the firms are doing. If your gross revenue dropped a certain amount, that's the first thing we ask too. And if you qualify the easy way, of course, we'll do it the easy way. But where we're really different is most firms stop there. And if they can't do it the easy way, you don't qualify, next client. And we don't do that. We'll take the time, the effort, the caring to sit down with you and figure out, do you qualify under the other test, the facts and circumstances test? And sometimes I have to give clients homework where I say, okay, what you told me was good, but I need to know more. Go back, get my answers, and then we'll have a second meeting. The only thing I care about is getting the client every dollar to which they're legally entitled. And that's a big difference. On the other hand, watch out and don't touch with an 11-foot pole these firms that are committing fraud. And the IRS has been very upfront with it. There's tremendous fraud in this program where there's a lot of companies, and a lot of companies have just literally popped up. They're not law firms. They're not CPA firms. They just started a company. Anybody can start a company. They do ERC. Everybody qualifies for them. And then what happens is you say, okay, they file things. And when the IRS is going to have a few questions, they're going to be long gone. So obviously you do not want to be committing a tax fraud. But on the other hand, you don't want to be leaving money on the table to which you're legally entitled. We have been practicing tax law for over 30 years. You know, we're tax attorneys, we're CPAs. We'll go ahead, we'll do everything for you. And we want you to cash in on this bonanza. And I realize people's facts, circumstances, results can differ. Mark, we have individual clients who've gotten literally millions of dollars. Most of the clients seem to get hundreds of thousands and some people less. Of course, not everybody qualifies, but a lot do. And I want to make sure if you're an employer, if you qualify, let's get every penny to which you're legal. And you see, I get really excited, but it's true. It's just watching this money flow from the government to our clients.
Well, it's, you know, why not benefit from a government that we pay into? I mean, you know, we pay so much into the government, state and federal. Why not at least try to take advantage of a program like this?
Absolutely. And look what small employers do for the economy, the government. That's why these programs are around, because if it weren't for small employers, we would have a terrible, terrible recession. That's why the government started all these programs. But you, like everything else, you have to know about it, because if you don't know about it, an IRS agent is going to knock on your door and say, hey, they're giving money away. You have to know about it. And there's so much information, especially telling people that qualify, that they don't qualify because they don't qualify under the easy test. And people aren't looking at the other tests where you have to do some work.
Do we get a visit from Steve Moskowitz tomorrow? We're doing a live show. Or probably you may be taking the day off. You've got pre-Thanksgiving activities, but we're here, Steve. You don't have to.
I'm happy to make a visit with you on Thanksgiving.
Awesome. So we're on the air live tomorrow, 10 to noon, and Steve will join us as well. You can reach Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. Also online, of course, MoskowitzLLP.com. It's MoskowItz, Moskowitz. LLP.com. Steve, happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk tomorrow then. Steve Moskowitz, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I look forward to talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah, that sounds awful. The Mark Thompson Show. That's what I'm talking about. We came over to this new studio, and some of the stuff.
The Mark Thompson Show. That sounds awful.
It just, I have to say, I don't know why that's overdriven like that. And I've talked to Tony about it, and he can't figure it out either. I mean, I have to re-record all this. I don't know where it is.
You could blame me if it makes you feel better.
Morning.
It doesn't make me feel better, but Well, maybe
whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
It does make me feel better. I lied. I mean, I think it does. It's weird. Yeah.
It's like a dopamine hit.
Yeah, it really is.
That's not fake. That's real.
It's true. Yeah, I really do enjoy.
Seriously,
I think got to blame somebody. It's really not my fault. I did it right. I was running it right, and all of a sudden we changed stuff. Cumulus takes their rig. I put in a new rig, and now everything is over. Not everything.
Funny. Steve was talking about how great it is to work for small companies. That must be nice.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Fabulous producer, John Daly.
I told you before that I was president of my homeowners association in Malibu when I was a big baller and I had money. And I didn't want to be president. I think I've mentioned this to you before. They came to me, the other residents. And the reason I'm saying this is kind of what John just said. There are only 11 homes, but they're all rich, entitled people. And they should be. I mean, they've worked hard for their money, some of them.
This was Marin County?
This is in Malibu. Oh. Okay. So, but what John is saying about a small business and small groups of people is so true. And so I'm living this nightmare of being the president of the homeowners association that I didn't want to be president of, but I was prevailed upon by the other residents to do it, because otherwise this other group would take over. This one person they didn't like.
Oh, there were factions.
Yeah, I mean, it really was unreal. I said, I don't want to be president. I just want to live here in peace. They said, no. If you don't, then we'll never have a moment's peace. Those people are going to take over, and they're just all okay. All right, I'll do it. So it was just awful. I told you I've never been cussed at and yelled at like I was the first week I was president of the homeowners association.
Did you have to build a wall?
I should have built a wall.
What were your campaign promises?
There's never been anything like this.
I did say I literally just put my name in and boom, it was easy. Like the fix was in. But the reason I mention it is that in the middle of my nightmare, I was talking to somebody about what a nightmare it is. And they said, small HOAs are the worst because everybody has a voice that's actually being heard. If you're going to be president of a homeowners association, you want to be a president of like a big building, like where there are hundreds of people, because that way it all gets lost in the wash. Sure, they can show up to the meetings and say something, but usually it's a much more manageable situation. You wouldn't think that to be the case, right? You'd think the smaller group would be easier to manage.
Yeah,
no.
But you can get away with cutting people off at 60 seconds.
Right.
We have so many people to get through.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's the. So you're right. Running a small business may be the toughest part.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
What a sad story, that Walmart manager who killed 6 people and himself.
Yeah.
31 years old. He was an overnight, quote, team leader for the Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. Police haven't publicly identified him, but they're saying they are identifying both him, and I guess they are beginning to identify those that he murdered. They don't know his motive. He seems obviously to be this guy who was unhinged. Started around 10:12. They say a little after 10 o'clock at night. It's less than an hour before this Walmart supercenter was set to close. 4 people injured in the attack. They're still in the hospital. 2 are in critical condition. They swept the store, they say investigators did. They're looking for victims or people who may have been in hiding. 3 people, including the shooter, located deceased in the break room of the store. 1 victim located deceased. These are quotes I'm reading from law enforcement. 1 victim was located deceased toward the front of the store. 3 other victims were transported to local hospitals for further treatment, but succumbed to their injuries. Yet another mass shooting.
Yeah, the latest on this one is that he had the shooter. They're saying now the city of Chesapeake says he had multiple magazines on him.
They have these and it wouldn't matter. He's a manager, so he could just ignore whatever. They have these no gun zones but it's just in the United States of guns.
Yeah, well, they
It's
sell
awfully
ammo,
hard.
right? So he would have had unfettered access.
No, probably right. You can boost your level a little bit, Johnny. If that's true, that's a bizarre, eerie coincidence. It's not far. I mean, I say not far. It's less than 200 miles from where the other shooting took place, right? At the University of Virginia, I mean. This is just crazy. 170 miles west of Chesapeake, a 22-year-old student at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville allegedly opened fire, allegedly is a ding word, on fellow students this month, killing 3 of them on a bus returning to campus from a field trip in Washington. Last weekend, a 22-year-old shot and killed 5 people at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs. 19 others were injured. The U.S. has suffered more than 600 mass shootings so far this year. Both the nonprofit Gun Violence Archive and CNN define mass shootings as those where 4 or more people are shot, not including the assailant. It's just an awful fact of life in America. I told you about getting directions when I was in Hungary. This is not long ago, maybe 4 years ago. I was in Hungary and I was trying to get back to where I was staying, this Airbnb with these other guys who were there. We were on a trip to, I think, look at this thing in Amsterdam that these guys, I was kind of just a tag along, but it's an investment. These guys are looking at this investment, blah, blah, blah. That's why I was there. Anyway, so I'm asking directions and the guy said, you go here, you go there, and there'll be a dark passageway. You'll go to the end of that. And I said, ooh, a dark passageway. It's late. I'm not really sure that's a good idea. Isn't there a way I could? He said, no. He said, this isn't America. Everybody doesn't have a gun here. You don't have to worry. There are no guns. He mentioned guns like 2 or 3 times in his response to me about security in Budapest. So the reputation is deserved. I mean, we all have guns is the idea. This is the United States of guns. And when people become unhinged, the anger, which is roiling over any number of things, the tribalism, which oftentimes can motivate this stuff, or just the insanity, it meets the ability to perpetrate this kind of carnage. And this is where we end up with mass shooting after mass shooting. It's just disgusting. And the mass shooter in the Colorado Springs attack, Anderson Lee Aldrich, 22 years old, and he is in jail. He was beaten into submissions by patrons at that Club Q. The motive in the shooting still under investigation. Authorities say, though, he faces murder charges and hate crime charges. To convict him on a hate crime, they'd have to prove that he was motivated by bias, like the perceived sexual orientation of the people in the club. But all the charges now are preliminary. But it's just sick. It's just sick. It's this grotesque part of who we are in America, and it makes me so sad and so sickened when I look at those facts. So, in Georgia, meantime, Herschel Walker, who really stumps on a Second Amendment and God. He's really an old school talking point driven candidate. I told you I'll play the audio of the latest woman to step forward in the Herschel Walker he took me for an abortion evidence case. And she has a literal voicemail message that he left her. But this is about taxes. As I've told you before, Herschel Walker is not a Georgian. He's a Texan. He is a favorite son of the state of Georgia, star football player at the University of Georgia, right? He is someone who was raised in Georgia, okay? So don't misunderstand me. But he moved to Texas and has lived there for over a decade, I believe. And he still gets a tax break on his residence in Texas. Republican Herschel Walker is getting a tax break intended only for a primary residence.
What?
That's right. In Dallas, Texas. That's his primary residence that he's declaring on his taxes as such. And he's running for Senate in Georgia. Publicly available tax records show that Walker is listed to get a homestead tax exemption in Texas in 2022. He'll save $1,500, potentially running afoul of both Texas tax rules and some Georgia rules on establishing residency for the purposes of voting or running for office.
Why are you yelling?
He registered to vote in Atlanta in 2021 after living in Texas for 2 decades. I said over a decade. It's 2 decades.
Why are you yelling?
And he voted infrequently in Texas. Of course, on the tax side, Steve Moskowitz can speak to this. You can only take the tax deduction and the exemption on your principal residence. He is claiming his principal residence is Texas. He took the tax break in 2021 and 2022 for his Texas home, even after launching a bid for Senate in Georgia. And this is something, by the way, that other officials have done who've tried this. I mean, Rick Perry, who's the Texas governor, was the Texas governor. He ended up in some mess where he had to pay back these taxes where they take a shot, and then they ruled that invalid. So,
and then he went on Dancing with the Stars, right?
That's right. He did go. I forgot. He went on Dancing with the Stars. So it was.
That's probably a tax write-off.
No, no, no.
Yeah. Where's the? If you're asking me, it was horrible. Where's the Simon thing?
If I'm being honest, it was horrible.
That's it. Right. That's it. Anyway, that's the latest on Herschel Walker. So we continue. Oh wow, it is getting late.
We're not done with Herschel Walker. Like, we have to go through a runoff election.
No, it's true.
We have more Herschel Walker to come.
And the question then becomes, in the runoff, might the lack of a gubernatorial candidate on the ballot lead to a depressed voter turnout on the GOP side, and then
how many more children does he have?
Right, they still.
How many more tax scams does he have?
They're not going to be voting for him, I doubt. Yeah, there's still time, right? Smash the like button. Give me a thumbs up. Even if you're watching in replay, please smash that like button like a boss. And we continue. Mark Thompson Show.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's the latest from the Mark Thompson News Network. I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. As mentioned, the man accused of shooting and killing 6 people at a Walmart in Virginia had multiple magazines on him. That is a tweet from the city of Chesapeake. It's also confirmed he had a handgun and was already dead by the time police arrived at the scene of that shooting last night. Ukrainian President Zelensky thanking the United States for another $400 million weapons package to aid in the war against Russia. Zelensky tweeted, "The military package will save lives and enable Ukraine to continue its resistance against the Russian invasion." He said the Ukraine will not be scared by cowardly, inhumane terrorist attacks by Russian war criminals. Congress is set to hold a hearing related to the issues suffered by Ticketmaster when they were trying to sell Taylor Swift tickets for her upcoming tour. The Senate Antitrust Panel will be looking into the lack of competition in the ticket selling industry. This all comes after reports of major service failures and delays on Ticketmaster's website, which left some fans unable to buy tickets. And there is a group of Frontier Airlines passengers set to have some unique memories of their recent trip from Denver to Las Vegas. Passengers on the Saturday flight were the unknowing guests at the wedding of a Denver couple. Aaron Bright and Jeff Waring won a contest that let them exchange vows in front of a Frontier pilot when the plane reached 30,000 feet. Passengers were treated to refreshments after the ceremony. The couple also had a more official ceremony at a chapel after it in Las Vegas. So that's a fun flight. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for both individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, you can call Steve 888 Tax Deal or catch him online, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
You found the Mark Thompson Show. You lucky mother. The Mark Thompson Show.
Why are you yelling?
That's not fake. That's real.
It's fantastic.
Use Mark Thompson.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What up, everybody? It's our big show for this is a Thanksgiving Eve, I guess you would call it, right? It's the day of travel for so many. This Thanksgiving Eve. Yes, I will give them a shout out, and I am so excited about Mossware Pro Audio, regular viewers, regular listeners, and the maker of the Honeybee vacuum tube mic preamp, everyone. And I don't need to tell you what a mic preamp is and what the vacuum tube mic preamp is, and I don't need to tell you what the Honeybee vacuum tube mic preamp is, and it's a good thing I don't need to tell you that because I have no idea what it is. So thank you very much, Mossware Pro Audio. I do want to give you a thank you.
Thank you.
Three thank yous, as a matter of fact. I really do thank you, your regular listeners, viewers, and contributors, as is Jim Slayton, $4.99. Thanks, Jim. Love you with a super sticker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you who have jumped in with a super sticker or super chat. Thank you, Jim Slayton's a regular. And Tony R455 for $1.99. Thank you.
Thank you
so much, Tony. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. So,
well, the vacuum
very
tube
cool.
would be old school, right? It would give you
Yes,
that
that would be old
warm
school.
analog sound. So, and a preamp would boost your microphone volume.
About
sound up nice.
20 years ago, I got the radio, and there's maybe I'll show you a picture of it, but I think they call it a Highboy. It's a huge, beautiful antique radio that my dad used to listen to at their place. Before there was TV, they listened just to radio, and they literally would like sit there with their, legs crossed, and they would just look at the radio, and they'd listen to, I don't know, Jack Benny and all of these different shows, right? And I got it. And it had those tubes that John's talking about inside, right? And it didn't work, but it had the guts there. It just had to be updated. And so there was this guy named Larry who I was in touch with, and he knew all about the radio. And he was one of those guys who refurbishes this stuff. And I thought, well, this is the best luck that this guy is available to me and is going to do this. Like one of my new friends. I've known him now he looked kind of like a rock and roller, long like hair over his shoulders and the little facial hair.
Did it look like that?
Yeah, it did. It looked like the one in the middle, but actually but even more beautiful. But yeah, like that. It had louvered doors that open. I don't know if they're louvered. They swing open. So you swing it open. It's very dramatic and beautiful in dark wood. So he said, let me have the guts of the radio, and I'll refurbish it and bring it back to you. I said, well, my gosh, thank you. Of course, I'll pay you for that. So he took the radio, took the guts of it. I still have the outside because I never saw Larry again, and I could never get a hold of him. He literally just took it all, and he ripped it off. Yeah, it was, so I don't have it anymore. So now I have the outside of the radio and the empty, carcass of what was. But you can't tell whether or not it works or not, whether it's right over there. I will take a shot of it at some point.
So
I have
somewhere in South America?
Yeah, Larry is gone,
beach?
Yeah. But what I should do is get that radio upgraded or, changed so that it looks antique, but it actually operates like, with a Bluetooth or something like Bluetooth setup. So there's that. A lot of people are sending me at the Mark Thompson Show at gmail.com suggestions for generators I can get.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
I have. If you're just joining us, we lost power all night, and it threw us way behind, and I couldn't do anything on the show and all this sort of thing. It's just wild because your internet goes down, and my cell phone was off because I didn't have any power. And anyway, thank you for all the generator suggestions. So, hollow state indicates vacuum tube, says Mossware Pro Audio. This is on the chat line.
Why don't you just text it?
Triodes produce a warm sound when overdriven, creating even harmonics. Solid state generally distorts, producing ugly, odd harmonics. Well, John, weren't you just saying this the other day about about harmonics and the it's kind of weird that we
fabulous producer John Daly.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Mossware. Anyway, back in the old days.
You know what makes it a triode?
What is it? What is it?
3 electrodes.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
You get the triodes in order, you get extra points.
No.
Did you want me to do some Law and Disorder here, John?
Oh, well, that was last half hour, but you could do that. You could do That's Rich.
John. Oh, That's Rich. Let me do that. By the way, I just sent a note, or I meant to send a note. I don't know if I sent it. It was such a S-storm of stuff going on. I meant to send it to Craig. So Craig Bowers is this guy who's like super incredible creative guy. He's the guy who did all the promos for KGO, all that stuff. He
was the production director.
Right, thank you, production director. So, so all the production. So he did all of our production opens, like so. That's Rich and Friday Fabulous Florida, and he did all of that.
He also did KGO, San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland.
Yeah,
an accumulated station.
We will do a new Friday Fabulous Florida on Friday. This Friday, as I say, we're on the air for Thanksgiving, and we're on the air for the day after Thanksgiving as well. So Craig did an open for our, now it's been rebranded, and thank you, was a listener actually suggested this. It's Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. So these are all mysteries. And by the way, the murder mystery that we featured on Monday is that Idaho murder, and there have been reassurances on the part of the authorities in Idaho and Moscow, Idaho, that they're on this and they think that there might be some breaks in that case. I don't know if you saw that, but in any case, I asked Craig to give me a new Get Rich, or I meant to send him something to give me a new Get Rich, because the old Get Rich has the song that we would get copyright flagged on, right, John?
Yeah, and then we would not be rich ever.
No, exactly, because they demonetize it. So I've got to send Craig that, or I did send him that. But either way, we will have the That's Rich open and close for you. So we don't really have a That's Rich open and close for you. And I know, I'm sorry. So what would you like to do, John? How do I do this?
I think you just do your own Bernie Sanders, right?
The top 1/10 of 1%?
Yeah.
I'm not really...
And then Kim can come in and money, money, money. The top 1/10 of the top 1%.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. You do a better one.
Money, 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 money.
The Giga Yacht story. I thought we did that story, the Giga Yacht story, didn't we?
I think Kim mentioned it. I don't know if it got to air.
Oh, okay. There's an $8 billion Giga Yacht. Could be the largest structure ever built. It's a giant yacht, but it's a floating city. It's envisioned by this Italian designer, and it is meant to house up to 60,000 guests. It'll cost $8 billion, a timeline of about 8 years to complete. Who is going to build it is my question. Is it, I don't see who's going to build it. I see that they want to build it. I see that it's been designed, but I don't see that it ever is going to be built.
You can see it there on the right. It's the shape of a giant turtle.
Mm-hmm. You can see it there on the right. Yeah, thank you. But I don't see any evidence as to, how it's going to be built. Somebody's got to at least underwrite the initial push, right? And
yeah, it's an Italian designer who's envisioning it.
Exactly. So it's been envisioned, but it has not been even started, nor might it I would suspect in this current environment, you won't see it ever built. But it's cool to dream. And if you've got $8 billion, and look, to a lot of billionaires, that's not a lot of money. So maybe it will happen. The question as to whether or not you're rich, they say the answer may surprise you.
Click here.
Yeah, this is truly clickbait. What's the dollar figure for being rich? How much money do you need to be considered rich? Well, according to Schwab's 2021 Modern Wealth Survey, Americans believe it takes a net worth of $1.9 million to qualify a person as being wealthy.
Wow, so that NBC correspondent is set.
Yeah, that NBC correspondent who lives in that $5 million home. Yeah, he is.
What?
Yeah. People with the top 1% of net worth in the U.S. in 2022 had over $10 million net worth. That's the top 1%. The top 2% had a net worth of $2 million. The top 5% had a little over $1 million. And the top 50% had $522,000. The top 10% had a net worth of $854,000. So you can put yourself in one of those categories if you care. Eric Kennedy's right. 1.9 million, that's like anyone who owns a home in California. Yeah, that's right. If your home is either paid off or you're paying off a small note on it, yeah, you're considered rich by most Americans. Again, 1.9 million is the threshold. So that's what they consider rich, most Americans, based on this survey. The denim mogul, Maurice Marciano. $37.5 million is the amount that the denim mogul Maurice Marciano dropped on his Beverly Hills mansion.
Did you say denim mogul?
I said denim, like denim jeans.
Oh, denim.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say
denim.
Jay Leno.
I was like, did he sell yogurt? All right.
That's the Dannon.
Is that it?
Okay. You're getting it confused.
Yeah. Records show that he bought the home through his limited liability company, which is the way to do it. That's the way Steve Moskowitz would tell you to do it. He shelled out $37.5 million. It's a newly remodeled mansion in Beverly Hills. One of the priciest deals the city has seen so far this year. I'm looking for the number of bedrooms, I can tell you. And I will tell you, but first I'd like to ask you. It's a single-story residence, contemporary concoction of limestone, marble, oak. It is 9,300 square feet. It is in Beverly Hills. I will tell you this, 5 bedrooms. You tell me, how many bathrooms? I'm waiting in the chat. This is a chat-exclusive guess. If you're in the chat room now, a 9,300 square foot home just sold for $34.5 million. 5 bedrooms, how many bathrooms?
The bathrooms are probably 1.9 million each.
Yeah. I'd like to buy just one of the bathrooms. Is that possible?
Right, with an exterior entrance.
These are ridiculous guesses. 13 bathrooms. It doesn't have 13 bathrooms. It's only got 5 bedrooms. I'm looking 20. Come on, Makai, please. Julie, 8.
Yeah, Julie.
2.5 says Josu. Calvin says 10. Joe says 7. Huge in Japan says 6.5. 27. I ought to disqualify you for that guess, 27. Immortal Tiger says 9. Pinky says 15. The actual number in 9,300 square feet of gorgeous marble, oak, steel, and glass and limestone in Beverly Hills. 5 bedrooms, and Julie was right. 8 bathrooms. That's right.
Well done, Julie.
Yeah, well done.
Imagine showing up to Beverly Hills with $1.9 million. Like, that's
they
cute.
would. Right. That's great. Are you buying lunch or what are you doing with that? Right.
But I'm rich. No.
Tom Arnold actually tells a great story. He told it on my old podcast, which is called The Edge with Mark Thompson. If you want to go back and listen, it's nothing like this show. It was like long form conversations. But the conversation with Tom Arnold is really good. So maybe worth, sometime going back and listening. And he tells the story. And I asked him if it was true. I literally asked him on because I'd heard it. And he does tell the story of going in to Fred Winston Jewelry in Beverly Hills with a shoebox, I think he said, or a bag of $1 million cash. And he was dressed like Tom Arnold. I think, flip-flops, shorts, T-shirt.
Sure.
And they wouldn't, they didn't pay any attention to him. And he couldn't get any traction with the staff because he didn't look the part. Meantime, he's got $1 million cash to buy jewelry. So
why did he have to bring cash? Why couldn't you just...
I think he was making a point. I think he was making a kind of a point about...
Maybe that's how Roseanne paid out the cast.
Yeah, he did do well on the Roseanne deal. But I think he was just feeling as though no one was taking him seriously. So I'm going to make the point quite starkly by bringing in the cash money, 1.9, and I'm rather 1 million. And I'm thinking 1.9. John said, well, what would it be like if you actually took the 1.9 million with you? Anyway, John's making a point about the fact that you can't even, touch one of these houses on a tour for 1.9 million. But anyway, that's the latest on that denim mogul's place. Has a library, a gym, and a media room. And it's $37.5 million. I think I said $34.5 million. It's $37.5 million. So
no
not
tailor
bad.
shop? You would expect a tailor shop.
Yeah, you'd expect at least a sewing room or something.
Yeah.
The car driven by Princess Diana in the 80s. That just sold at auction. Here's a good one. It was driven by Princess Diana. It was a Ford. No, that can't be right. This is saying that the page is not found, John, so I can't open it. But I do have what it's sold for. So I will. What do you think? What do you think it sold for? Princess Diana's car she drove in the 80s. What do you think? Anybody? What do you think, Kim? Princess Diana's car.
I don't know. In the 80s, but Princess Diana's car, I'm going to say...
Yeah, but they're auctioning it now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's today's money.
$125,000.
That's a good guess. That's a good guess. I'd call that a cute guess.
Oh.
What do you think? Anybody? How many bathrooms did the car have? That's very strong. Eric Kennedy, thank you. $764,000 you got at auction.
Wow, for an old
somebody.
Ford?
I think is it Yosu Ramirez? I don't know how you say your name, but 1.5 million isn't a bad guess. I mean, I think it could have gone for that. There it is. Yeah, that's a car that is $764,000 at auction.
And there was fierce bidding.
I'll bet. That really runs it up. The last thing I'll tell you is something about the mega billionaire Peter Thiel. He has his dream home in New Zealand. Apparently, it is not doing well. He purchased it for $13.5 million. It's in the South Pacific nation of New Zealand. He holds citizenship there. And Thiel, who's 54, applied for what is he applied for? What is the problem? He has this compound. It's huge. It's got a theater. It's got a meditation pod, a library. But
I think it's the environmental impact report.
He's trying to expand it. I think it's built, and he's trying to expand it. Isn't that right? He owns the property.
Yeah, but visually, it's going to change the nature of the area.
I see. So the neighbors are pushing back on him. Right. It's been so long since I read this piece. He says in his application that the lodge...
It's not a home, it's a lodge.
The lodge and the gift shop are built with taste, with a consideration for the neighborhood.
The lodge is designed in a manner that integrates the building forms into the context of the landscape and the site, while providing each guest room with uninterrupted north-facing views toward Lake Wanaka and the Southern Alps. He owns the property. He's trying to build this huge, expansive, I don't know, you call it a resort almost, and he's getting pushback. The last thing I wanted to tell you in the world of the mega wealthy is about Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos says that the next mission into space will be an all-female crew led by his girlfriend, Lauren Sanchez.
Chicks in space!
Lauren Sanchez gushed over the exciting opportunity as she and Jeff Bezos, who founded aerospace manufacturer and spaceflight services company Blue Origin, talked about space travel. Lauren, 52, is headed to space in 2023. Bezos, 58, sat down and talked about how excited he was to have an all-female crew.
Didn't you work with her?
I did. She was a friend of mine. I went to her wedding. I mean, she more than just worked with her. She was a pal. I've been to her house many times. I didn't work for. I'd like to work for her now. And as I told you, she's really cool. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about Lauren Sanchez. I thought she was a cool person, and she's not stupid. So, there's because it's out there that she's just a bimbo, and no, she's not. She's smart, and she
really
definitely
smart.
She definitely leads with sexy. Okay, she definitely leads. She's sex forward, but when I knew her, when we were working together, she has a baby from Tony Gonzalez, the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, and she was dating Henry Simmons. Do you know who that is? Is it Henry Simmons? Was the black dude on NYPD Blue? He was he's
got high
gorgeous
standards
guy.
for the,
And he's like
love
so
interest.
handsome. Yeah, Henry Simmons walked into the studio. I was working Lawrence. I said, that might be like the best looking dude I've ever seen.
He was on
wearing
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
NYPD Blue.
Right. He's stunningly handsome. Okay. And she was seeing him for a while, and then she ended up with Patrick Weitzel, the super agent from WME, and he was like the most powerful man in Hollywood, and they were wildly wealthy, wildly powerful, and then I didn't think it was possible to upgrade from that, but she pretty much did, and Jeff Bezos, so the two of them will blast her into space next year. So that's the latest on That's Rich, and that is That's Rich for today. Money, 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 money. Money. Money.
The top 1/10 of 1%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, everybody.
That's rich.
Yeah, that's rich.
Welcome to Family Feud, everybody. I'm your man, Steve Harvey.
I'm your man, Steve Harvey. I gotta get a little more Steve Harvey in me. A little more of that.
He has more than 1.9 million.
He is doing well. Speaking of That's Rich, that dude is feeling good. I told you my friend worked for him, and she said he literally smells like money. He just smells like success, is what she was saying. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Do I have anything else to do, John, before I have to encourage you, please, all of you, to get friends and family to subscribe, as I've told you. Before your meal starts, have everybody take out their phone and say, I need you to do me a favor this Thanksgiving. I don't need you to ever watch this show or listen to this show, but I need you to subscribe to this show. So on your phone right now, in YouTube, I need you to go to The Mark Thompson Show and just subscribe and help this show get to 10,000 subscribers. So
My dad
that
and
is the plan.
stepmom did it last night from 2 different email addresses. So 2 for my dad, 2
That's
for my
very cool.
stepmom. There
Yeah,
you go.
come on. That's what I'm talking. That's the commitment. So
Is that like ballot harvesting?
Smash the like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash the like button with your iron rod as well. You can subscribe with your iron rod, too. It's both smashable and it is subscribable. The iron rod, fully workable in both instances.
Oh,
So I
kind of a
ask...
multi-tool.
Yeah, it is. Nikki's show is next over on the Nikki Maduro channel. I hope you'll go to the Nikki Maduro show and check her out. Chip has a show as well at 9 o'clock. His show goes on, so it's before ours, and I hope you'll check that out as well, the Chip Franklin Show. And I really appreciate everybody today. I mean, I'll do all the thanks and my tearful thanks tomorrow, because I'm really grateful that you guys have been as supportive as you. We've been on the air just a little over a month, and I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening, and it's really challenging, and I'm challenged in ways that I've never been challenged before. Do you want to read what's coming up on the Nikki Maduro show, Kim? It's your show, too.
We've got a Red Solo Cup coming up, and we're talking about celebrity tax cheats, and Nikki's son and her dog Nugget will be on the show.
Wow.
So it'll be fun. Yeah.
That's very cool. Oh, that's right. Thanksgiving. It's kind of cool. Family.
Yeah, a little family thing.
I think it's going to be good. Oh, we're going to go out with some gospel? Okay, that's good.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, my brothers and sisters, you know, let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters. Use Mark Thompson. You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
Right on.
Feels great, baby.
Let me kick down the door and talk to my cheap sons and daughters.
All right.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yes.
No context will suffice.
Thank
to
you
explain the hurt and anguish caused by my words. I apologize to every preacher and pastor.
Love you all being here.
You can buy a Movado watch in Sam's.
I do feel it, though, I got to say.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol
Maybe
involved.
a little.
Do I hit it long? Is Trump strong?
What? Who is having that conversation?
Yeah, right on. Well, where's the Shadow? Where was Shadow, though? Shadow usually says goodbye. Shadow?
I'm Shadow
Thank
Stevens
you.
for the Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Till tomorrow and Thanksgiving. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.